Rich Dad Poor Dad lesson number two. The rich acquire assets and have money work for them, while the middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets, and they work for money, and the poor only have expenses. An asset is something that puts money in my pocket, while a liability is something that takes money out of my pocket. So, what this means is that people have a misunderstanding of what an asset or a liability is. In accounting, an asset is something that you own, but then this something can be really taking, like, instead of making you richer, can be making you more poor. What Robert Kiyosaki is trying to say is that you have to know the difference between an asset and a liability. An asset is something that generates you money, while a liability will just is something that keeps on taking money from you. Examples of real assets are businesses that don't require your presence. You own them, but they are managed or run by other people. If you have to work there, it's not a business, it becomes your job. Income generating real estate. So what this means, income generating real estate, is like you own the real estate, then someone pays you rent for living there. Stocks, bonds, notes. Notes are like IOUs. So you give someone a loan and then you expect them to repay it back with interest. Um, Royalties from intellectual property such as music, scripts, or whatever. Robert also believes that someone's net worth is often worth less than they think. The reason is so many people put themselves in deep financial trouble when they run short of income. To raise cash, they sell their assets, but their personal assets can generally be sold for only a fraction of the price of the value listed on their personal balance sheet. Or, if there's a gain on the assets, they are taxed on the gain, this thus reducing the amount available to help them out of debt. What they thought were assets could not help them survive in a time of financial crisis. For example, a new car loses nearly 25% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot. So a car is not an asset, it's not a true asset, even if your banker lets you list it off as well. The rich, they have their money work for them. So they don't like keep on working for money. They have money work for them. They play it smart. They buy assets that actually generate income for them and is actually useful. Like they actually, why am I saying actually? Okay. Um, Income generating assets. They just the main thing that Robert is trying to say in his book is that you should focus on acquiring assets. Acquire assets, build a strong foundation, solid foundation of assets, and reduce liabilities and keep expenses low. Whatever you earn, make sure you're building your assets. An important distinction is that rich people buy luxuries last, while the poor and the middle class buy luxuries first. They do this because they want to look rich. They look rich, but in reality, they just get deeper into debt. The old money people, however, the long-term rich, they build their asset column first. Then the income from their assets from their asset column buys their luxuries. The poor and middle class buy luxuries with their own sweat, blood, and children's inheritance. So make sure that you slowly build that asset column that can generate income for you, especially when you're in a time of tough situation where you don't have money. The asset column will be there to generate the money that you need to survive. If you lost your job or anything, or your business is running under losses, at least you have something to rely on other than just buying assets that are just there, like a car that literally loses a lot of its value in like the first few years and becomes worthless after like 5 years, or anything that just stays there and just loses its value, or even if it increases value, you're taxed on the increase of value. So yeah, focus on building income generating assets. As he says, wealth is a person's ability to survive so many number of days forward. Or, if I stopped working today, how long could I survive? The measure of cash flow from the asset column compared with the expense column is wealth. Cash flow tells the story of how a person handles their money. That's it. The main thing is try, make sure to like focus on building that asset column. Reduce expenses and reduce liabilities. That's all. That's the main thing that you need to do, according to Rich Dad Poor Dad.